number of Scouts and adult Scout leaders who have died, or as we say in Scouting, gone home. A list of those known to us by name has been published and has been placed in your
La liste de
pigeonholes.
ceux que nous connaissons nommément a été publiée et figure dans vos casiers. Certains ont d'ailleurs été membres du Comité mondial du scoutisme, ont contribué aux travaux du bureau et sont titulaires du loup de bronze. Je vais vous demander de vous lever alors que Jim Sharp va donner.
Mr. Eric Koo, Malaysia. Madame Elena Levy, Switzerland. Mr. John F. Lott, Sr., United States of America. Sir Garth Morrison, United Kingdom. Mr. Alex Patterson, New Zealand.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. We offer our sincere sympathy to the family. Now, in accordance with the Constitution,
Conformément au statut,
the World Conference shall adopt
la
its own
conférence
rules of
mondiale
procedure.
va procéder à
The proposed
l'adoption.
rules of procedure for this conference were submitted to all National Scout organizations for approval by postal ballot in December 2013, and these were overwhelmingly approved. Circular number 1/2014 announced that the rules of procedure had been approved. Conference document number 2 contains these rules of procedure, and I ask you to take note of them. My notes here say that Jim Sharp is in attendance in the hall to assist or answer any questions you may have. I assume that's questions about the rules of procedure rather than anything else. The next item is the explanation of the voting procedure. During the conference, delegations will be asked to vote on different subjects. And I'm now going to ask Jim to explain the voting procedure, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All member organizations with voting rights have received a voting kit, an envelope like the one I'm holding. This kit contains a number of items. The first is a green voting card. Each time a vote is called for, the delegate holding the voting kit should raise this card, the green one. Raising that card casts the 6 votes of your delegation. When the chairman says, "All in favor," raise your green card. Then take it down when they're counted. When the chairman says, "Those against," you use the green card to vote against. He will probably also say, "Any abstentions?" Raise the green card. The red voting card is only used if you want to split your 6 votes. If you want to do that, maybe you want to cast 5 votes in favor and 1 against, or 4-2 or 3-3, you raise your red card, and the tellers will come to you to find out how you want to split your votes. So this is only used if you are splitting your 6 votes. It is not the card you use voting against a motion. You use the green card for all the normal voting. In the voting kit, there are a number of printed ballot forms. The yellow one will be used when we vote for the host organization of the 41st World Scout Conference and 13th World Scout Youth Forum. The green ballot form will be used when we vote for the host organization of the 16th World Scout Moot. There's also a pad of 12 voting papers printed in different colors. And we will use those if the chairman of a session decides that a vote needs to be taken using one of these forms rather than a card vote. So these voting forms, the colored ones, will only be used on the instruction of the chairperson. Finally, in the kit, there's a large voting form for the elections of the World Scout Committee. I will come back later, before that vote takes place, to explain how we will use this. In the meantime, first of all, don't lose it. And second, please don't fold it, because when we come to vote, these papers will be scanned by a machine, and we would like to have unfolded papers go through the machine. I'll repeat those instructions again before the election, but in the meantime, keep it safe and don't fold it, please. And that brings me to my last 2 points. There is only one voting kit for each member organization with voting rights. If a member organization which is not present at the conference has given a proxy to another member organization, that NSO will have 2 voting kits, its own and the one for the NSO that gave its proxy. And my final point, please keep your voting kits safe, and please keep them with you at all times. A vote could be called at any time during the conference. If you've lost your kit, or if you've left it in your hotel room, You've lost your right to vote because we will not issue a duplicate kit. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Jim. Are there any questions regarding the voting procedures? I see none. Thank you, Jim. You may applaud Jim. He hates it when that happens. So I am pleased to inform you that according to the report from the Credentials Committee, out of 162 National Scout organizations, there are 116 National Scout organizations, 116, entitled to vote at this conference, and a further 17 valid proxies. That makes the total voting National Scout organizations present or by proxy to be 133. We now come to the appointment of tellers. The rules of procedure, which are contained in conference document number 2, specify that there should be a minimum of 3 tellers to be appointed. However, to facilitate matters, the World Scout Committee are going to propose 4 persons to be tellers. The World Scout Committee recommends to you the appointment of the following Scouters to serve as tellers. And I will ask them to stand after I have read all the names. The Honorable Mayor Dale B. Corvera from the Philippines, Mr. Jeffrey King from Korea, Mr. Andrei Kolobov from Ukraine, and Mr. Olusoga Sofolahan Atabioke from Nigeria. That's quite exciting. May I ask these 4 persons to stand and be recognized, please? Now, officially, I have to ask you for a vote, but if there were now to be a spontaneous round of applause, I would take that as approval of those 4 individuals. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Those 4 people are appointed as the tellers for this 40th World Scout Conference. There's more. The World Scout Committee recommends to you the following Scouters to serve as the Resolutions Committee. So now, this time, please could you stand as your names are called. Ms. Melissa Martins Casagrande from Brazil. Mr. Benjamin Bretagne from France. Mr. Al-Samul Omar from Sudan. And Mr. Brendan Watson from Australia. So now, conference, would you please indicate your agreement with the recommendation of the World Scout Committee? Thank you. These 4 people then are appointed as the Resolutions Committee for this 40th World Scout Conference. Now, sadly, from time to time, the World Scout Conference is asked to consider terminating the WSOM membership of a National Scout organization. That is the case today, when we consider the termination of the membership of Basildida Scout Albania, the National Scout organization in Albania, whose membership of WSOM was provisionally suspended by the World Scout Committee.
Donc, dont la qualité de membre conférence mondiale, donc de mettre un terme à la qualité de membre de Beselidja Scout de l'Albanie. Et le comité propose par conséquent la résolution suivante, dont vous pouvez lire le texte à l'écran. Suspension et cessation de qualité de membre. La conférence accepte que le scout d'Albanie dispose de 3 mois pour mettre un terme
to settle other issues and to fulfill its obligations as a member of WUSM under the supervision of the European Scout Committee. This conference decides that if, at the end of that period, such problems have not been settled to the satisfaction of the World Scout Committee, Besilida Scout Albania be expelled from the World Organization. Before we put that resolution to a vote, however, the World Organization of the Scout Movement Constitution also provides that we invite the suspended organization to make its written or oral comments. We have with us today a representative of Besilida Scout Albania, Mrs. Rezata Turku, whom I now invite to address the conference. The speaker has a maximum of 10 minutes to make her comments.
Hello, everybody. Dear members of the committee, dear delegates and other participants of this conference, thank you for the possibility you give us to bring our voice in this conference and to contest what is said about our association. We truly believe that this information will be understood as it should, and we hope to clarify this issue. We planned to show you some activities by photos, but at the last moment we were not allowed. So, when the reorganizing of scouting in Albania was appointed to our chief scout, Mr. Fluturim Guni, he refused it because he doesn't speak English. Mr. David Bull and Blaise Betchman insisted that he takes this responsibility, saying that the English would not be a problem and promising to him support, likewise to have an office and an English-speaking assistant. After the appointment of Mr. David McKee in the regional office, he came in Albania and the mayor of Kruja invited them for a dinner and promised that he will put at our disposal a location for the purpose of building a scout center in Kruja. And in that meeting, they agreed on this issue. In the same period, they met with the mayor of the city of Elbasan, Mr. Ardian Turku, today deputy in the Albanian parliament. They met as well the vice minister of culture, youth and sports, Mr. Edmond Dragoti. They all showed positive wishes to support Besilida Scout Albania. On his behalf, Mr. David promised that he will bring 6 used computers for the 6 members of the National Executive Committee. This promise was not kept at the end. Meanwhile, for a better development of scouting in Albania, we asked Mr. David McKee to bring in Albania, next to our association, a scout with experience from countries such as UK, France, or another country. This practice was already also done by other countries in the Balkan, likewise in Montenegro, where a guy from France was volunteering, whom we had the chance to meet in his visit to Kruja. Mr. David told us that for the development of scouting in Albania, since 10 years now, 2 persons are being paid in Italy. One of them is called Angela and the other name remained anonymous, and as he could not recall it. The idea was that we had to cooperate with these persons, which were part of AGESI. We didn't know these persons, but we knew some other members of the AGESI association operating in Albania, and despite our efforts to establish connections with them, they refused constantly. As a result of the continuous insistence from our association and the support of Mr. David Bull, the contact person for the project, it was drafted and approved the Taylor Support Project, the aim of which was the development of the youth program, spread and growth of the association, development of volunteering, the opening of an office in Tirana, the opening of a functional website for the image of the association, the production of leaflets for establishing the visual identity of the association, and so on. This is confirmed by the email received on 31st October 2008 when the regional office informed us for the approval of the project. To what extent this project was applied and implemented in the said time frame and who are the responsible for this? This is still a quiz. 1 month before the deadline of the project, the job announcement for the office in Tirana was declared together with the description of the job that the future employee was going to be in charge of. This information was shared with our association on the email that dates back on 10 April 2009. One of the points in the job description stated that the employee would have the right to represent Bestidea Scout in Albania in all national and international instances. As soon as we received this email, we replied that we disagree with this point and that we object it. We requested that this point was deleted from the job description because this was a violation toward the rights of our association, and for this reason we sent an email on 12 April 2009. On his reply on 12 April 2009, Jordan Bayraktov would accept this request. 4 months later, it was appointed in the office in Tirana a person named Massimo Cavatorta, whom we already like to mention here in the meeting in the church in Jinar El-Bassan. According to the job description and job requirements, this person was supposed to work closely with Bestidea Scout Albania. Given the circumstances that this was a person belonging to a Jeshi Scout Association, the members of which constantly refused to cooperate with us, we expressed our opinion openly in front of Mr. David McKee, Jordan Bayraktov, and Mr. Massimo Cavatorta himself, arguing that this person can do this work for the above-mentioned reason. With the intervention of Mr. David McKee, it was decided that the person would get the job and that we would be 3 months in trial so that we could see whether our pretensions were true. However, what happened in reality is that the office was opened in Tirana and the office had no connections with us whatsoever, and we didn't receive even the key for this office. Quite a long time passed and we decided to remind the regional office for the existence of this office in Tirana. In this email sent on 30 January 2010, we asked for explanations in relation with the office in Tirana. We did not receive the keys of the office for using the office for the association. We asked for the proceeding of the meetings in other cities, meetings that were planned for the growth and spread of scouting in Albania. We were also mostly concerned whether Massimo, the appointed person, was planning to cooperate with us or not. This question became obvious when we tried to contact with him and set meetings with him, but for some reasons these meetings would always fail. Moreover, when will the analysis of the 3 months of the trial period happened? In the reply we received from Mr. Jordan to this email on 9 February 2010, we understood the reply of Mr. David McKee to leave Mr. Massimo Cavatorta 3 months in trial was to prevent us from further talking and air-mouthing, as apparently the position of Mr. Massimo Cavatorta was set, and he would not move from the office until the end of the period. The workshops planned to happen 1 year ago, according to the Taylor project, would be postponed for coming spring. Meanwhile, Mr. Massimo continued his play in Albania with a lack of contacts and with the supposition that he was working for the scouting in Albania. From the request done by Massimo in his email to bring some Italian scouts to join the national camping, we draw the conclusion that he had no Albanian scouts to bring in the national camp. But he still works only for the Italian Ageshi. Meanwhile, Jordan would give me the keys of the office after 6 months, and I would see that in this office there was a strong material base, although nothing from these materials bases were actually given to Beslidia Scout Association. Mr. Jordan had 2 trips to Albania, but he didn't contact with us. Therefore, the chief scout was obliged to send the email with dates back on 18th March 2011, almost in the end of the 2-year period planned for the office and the Taylor project. In this email, he was again asking for the finalizing of the project, finalizing of the youth program by bringing in Albania a model of a youth program from another country and adapt it for Albania, as it was already agreed previously. As well as he asked for organizing the 3 workshops for the growth and spread of the scouting, which at that point were forgotten. The production of the leaflets for the association were another issue, as the office at the time produced some leaflets which were not promoting Beslidia Scout Albania. As summertime was approaching and the camping date was approaching, we sent another email to Jordan on 10th April 2011, where we were asking, based on our previous agreement, again for the production of the leaflets and to help us with tents, sleeping bags and scarves for the summer camp facility. In 2011, the Albanian government issued the law according to which every association registered in the National Registry with a court decision needed to have its NIPT. For this reason, we had previously requested from Mr. David and Mr. Jordan to have the NIPT. In order to have the NIPT, it is necessary that at least 1 employee is paid the social insurance each month. We had all documents ready for the NIPT and we were only waiting for the financial support. This person could be Massimo as well, as he was being paid for us, as this was not a problem. We also asked Mr. Jordan in one of our previous meetings to get the access code to enter in the official website of Beslidia Scout Albania to upload their data about the activities and the events of our association. Nevertheless, we never received this code. In the reply that we received from Mr. Jordan Bayraktov in the email of 5th March 2011, we understood that at this point we are totally depending from Mr. Massimo Cavatorta. In this email, he states that you should discuss with Massimo for the leaflets, while the previous agreement was not this one. For the same email, we received a reply from Mr. David McKee as well, this time not in his role, but in the role of a politician whom, when is asked for something, replies for something else. Therefore, we have the right to ask the World Conference. What was the reason of all these postponements? Where did the financial support for the Taylor Support project ended up? We actually never asked for money, unless strictly necessary, unlike it is stated in the accuses against us.
Rosata, I must tell you that you have now spoken for 11.5 minutes, and we gave you 10 minutes to speak. Can you please complete your speech?
May I finish? It's only a paragraph? The last one?
You may certainly finish if you just have one more paragraph.
What?
You may speak for a little longer, but I will have to stop you if you continue for very long.
No, it's the last paragraph. We insisted for this project to be done. At least we think we have the right to ask why none of the points of the project was not realized, but they kept being postponed. What puts an end to all this game played by Mr. David McKee, Mr. Jordan Bayraktova and Mr. Massimo Cavatorta to avoid Beslidia Scout Association in Albania and to recognize Ajeshi Scout Association is the disinformation that Mr. David McKee sent to the General Secretary in the email that dates back in 16 December 2011 and the inventions on the email of 21st October 2011, carefully planned by Mr. Henrik Soderman. Of course, they received an answer for both their emails for their disinformation. The reply to Mr. Soderman was on the email of 6th November 2011, and the reply for Mr. David was in the email that dates back on 23rd December. We find the moment to thank you the right position of the General Secretary Secretary of this time, who support our association and said that the WASM recognizes only one Scout association in Albania, and this is Beslidia Scout Association. We have been waiting and we are waiting that a group of financial control from WASM comes and checks these issues, including expenses that are done for the development of scouting in Albania during these 4 years, 2008-2011. All mentioned emails are attached. We have tried to send this report to the committee members, World Committee members, by Facebook address because we didn't find their email address. And attachment are all the emails that facts all these reasons and all this report, and that it's not true what is written about our association. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the records show that we allowed you to speak for 14 minutes. Thank you. Can I now invite the chairman of the European Scout Committee, Andrea Desmanos, to make some brief comments in response.
Dear friends in Scouting, I will be quite short. You received conference document 3. In this document you have all relevant facts. I wish to underline that we tried during more years repeatedly to offer support to the NSO to have an impact on scouting in Albania. Nothing happened, and sadly we are now practically obliged to ask kindly the conference to support the World Scout Committee proposal to terminate in 3 months Albania's membership if, as should be written on the screen, there will be no significant improvement in the situation. That's it.
Thank you. So I will now put the resolution from the World Scout Committee to the vote. Could I ask the tellers please to come forward? And could I also ask Jim Sharp to come up and remind the conference of the voting procedures?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will use the green card for this vote. I'll call first for all those in favour of the motion from the World Scout Committee to raise the green card. Please do that now if you vote in favour of the resolution from the World Scout Committee, which is on the screen. Please keep your cards held high until the tellers can count them. Thank you. You can lower your cards. Those, please lower your cards. Now, if you vote against the motion from the World Scout Committee, would you please raise your cards? Again, we use a green card to vote against the motion. Multiplying the number of cards by 6 votes, there were 510 votes in favor and 54 votes against. I should ask, were there any abstentions? "54 abstentions. I repeat, 510 in favor, 54 against, and 54 abstentions.
Brother and Sister Scouts, I therefore note that the resolution has been carried. And Jim reminds me that that needed a 2/3 majority, and it has been carried. Now, each World Scout Conference offers the opportunity to take stock of the expansion of the Scout movement throughout the world and to welcome more new Scouts to our Scout family. Since the last World Scout Conference in Brazil, we are pleased to say that one National Scout organization has been admitted as a member of the World Organization, namely the South Sudan Scout Association. Admission was undertaken by postal vote. Now, as you know, normally we welcome new member organizations to the conference and present to them their membership certificate. Sadly, it's not been possible for the South Sudan Scout Association to send a delegation to this conference. But we have, however, received a letter from them. And I'm going to ask World Scout Committee member and chair of our World Membership Task Force, Mr. Oscar Palmquist, to read their letter to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Letter from South Sudan Scout Association. To Scottier Secretary General was reference apology. Dear Sir, on behalf of South Sudan Scouts and on my own behalf, I take this opportunity to present to yourself, the hosting committee, and the World Scout family our apology for not attending the 12th World Scout Youth Forum and the 4th World Scout Conference in Slovenia. It was our wish and expectations as the new WAS member to join our brother and sister Scouts in the globe to participate in the deliberations, passing of the resolutions, and other working documents in these two events. But we could not make it due to some difficulties which came our way and are beyond our control. We tried all other necessary possible options, but it was not easy. South Sudan Scout Association will abide with all resolutions and other rules passed by the majority in the 12th World Scout Youth Forum and the 4th World Scout Conference. In regards to South Sudan Association certificate of membership in the World Organization of the Scout Movement, we will appreciate if your administration will allow Mr. Frederick Tutu Kamakama, Director of the World Scout Bureau Africa Regional Office, to receive on our behalf. Therefore, we wish everybody good health, and we pray for God's guidance during all deliberations for the development of the Scout movement in the world. Yours in Scouting, Ladou Said Al-Juna, Chief Commissioner, South Sudan Scout Association.
Thank you, Oscar. Well, as we heard in the letter from South Sudan, they've asked if their membership certificate can be taken back to them by the Africa Regional Director. So during the presentation ceremony that we will have in a moment, we will ask him to receive the certificate on their behalf. During the triennium, the Association des Guides Scouts de Monaco also became a full member of the World Organization. It was previously an accredited National Scout organization. And so we have the pleasure today to present a new membership certificate to the Association des Guides des Scouts de Monaco. To prepare the presentation ceremony, may I now invite the members of the World Scout Committee present and youth advisors to come up to the main stage and stand in front of the table.
I now invite Mr. Frederick Kamakama, the Africa Regional Director, to please come forward to receive the certificate of the South Sudan Scout Association. J'invite maintenant l'Association des Guides des Scouts de Monaco de se rendre vers le podium. I'll carry on. Yeah. We are pleased to say that since the World Scout Conference in Brazil, 16 National Scout organizations or National Scout associations have claimed their centenary diploma, celebrating their centenary this year or earlier. I would now invite one delegate of each of these National Scout organizations or National Scout associations to which we will present the centenary diploma to be lined up, and I think they're over there. Hask from Armenia. Fédération des Scouts du Congo, la République démocratique du Congo.
Democratic Republic of Congo.
The Cyprus Scout Association. Cyprus Scout Association. The Egyptian Scout Federation. Eesti Scoutide Ühing from Estonia. The Ghana Scout Association. Bandalag Islenskra Skata from Iceland. Cinjai, Corpo Nazionale Giovani Esploratori ed Esploratrici Italiani from Italy. Fédération du Scoutisme Libanais from Lebanon. Fédération nationale des éclaireurs et éclaireuses du Luxembourg. Luxembourg. Associação dos Escoteiros do Portugal, Portugal. Organizația Nazionale Cercetății Romania. Escultismo en España, Spain. Sudan Boy Scouts Association. Scouts of Syria. And the National Organization of Scouts of Ukraine.
Our membership task force has been working hard over the last triennium and brought to the World Scout Committee yesterday a recommendation. I wonder if there are members of the membership task force in the room, if they would like to stand and just be acknowledged. So, brother and sister Scouts, the following is a membership announcement. Yesterday, on Sunday, August the 10th, the World Scout Committee held its last meeting of this triennium. The committee considered a number of proposals which had emerged from its work during the triennium on WUSM membership, which had been led by the membership task force that you have just acknowledged. I'd like to share with you now, briefly, what the World Scout Committee decided. First, concerning the state of Palestine. The Scout Association of Palestine was admitted as a member organization of WUSM in 1996, in accordance with the following resolution. Resolution 1, 1996 reads as follows. The conference approves the World Committee's recommendation that the Palestinian Scout Association be granted conditional recognition, which is justified by the uniqueness of the case. Notes that this conditional recognition shall give the Palestinian Scout Association the principal privileges and attributes of membership, except the right to vote. Records that this situation shall prevail until the sovereignty of Palestine is internationally established, at which time the Palestinian Scout Association shall be considered for full membership status in accordance with the requirements of the Constitution of the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Rules that this conditional recognition shall not create a precedent. Since 1996, the international recognition of the State of Palestine has evolved in significant ways. There is, by all accounts, a growing feeling within WUSM that the time has now come to reconsider the position of the Scout Association of Palestine with a view to granting the member organization full voting rights. The World Scout Committee affirms its support for the process of reconsidering the status of the Scout Association of Palestine within WUSM and its willingness to consider a new application for WUSM membership with full voting rights. The World Scout Committee and the World Scout Bureau commit to continue to work closely with the Arab Scout Committee and the Arab Regional Office, with the Scout Association of Palestine, and with other member organizations to bring about a successful conclusion of this process in the shortest possible time frame. Based on the Membership Task Force study and proposals, the World Scout Committee made some more decisions. Also decided to accept a future application for full WUSM membership from the Scouts of Curaçao and Scouts Aruba, based on the change of their political status as new independent and autonomous countries, as noted on the Kingdom of the Netherlands' new constitution. And the World Scout Committee also decided to accept a future application for full WUSM membership from the Scouts of Macau. And colleagues who are ready to be elected to the World Scout Committee should note that the World Scout Committee, the current one, also recommend to the next World Scout Committee to create membership guidelines, including any necessary changes to the Constitution. Thanks for your attention, and that is signed by somebody, I guess probably me. Ljubljana, 10th of August, 2014. I'm smiling. We now come to the World Scout Committee Chairperson's report, and I'd like to ask my friend and colleague, Mr. Simon Ree, to please give the Chairperson's report at this time.
Dear brothers and sister Scouts, good afternoon, and welcome to the 40th World Scout Conference here in Ljubljana, Slovenia. It gives me great pleasure, and it is a true honor to stand here before you as the chairperson of the World Scout Committee. It is over 3.5 years since our last conference in Brazil. Many things have changed since then, both inside and outside the movement. Our task here together over the next few days is to see how we can continue to develop the Scout movement to be relevant and contribute to society in trying and testing times in order to fulfill our mission of contributing, create a better world. But before I go any further, let me extend my warm thanks on behalf of the World Scout Committee, the World Scout Bureau, and all Scouts gathered as well as worldwide to the Slovenia NSO. To their warm welcome here in Ljubljana and for their great effort in preparing the 40th World Scout Conference and the 12th World Scout Youth Forum last week, which, by all accounts, was a great success. as hosts. You have already done a wonderful job, and we are grateful to you for your hospitality. We are looking forward to our time ahead together. Thank you, Slovenia Scouts. I have no doubt that in the coming days, we will have an opportunity for engage in fruitful discussions, enjoy some warm hospitality, and adopt positive resolutions to help lead our movement of the next 3 years. And we have much to discuss and much to decide. This is our chance to speak with one another, listen to each other, and together decide on the future direction of the Scout movement. Just before we look ahead, it is my duty and honor to look back at the last triennium and the work achieved by Scouts worldwide, the World Scout Committee and the World Scout Bureau, as well as the regional offices and the many national Scout organizations, and of course, all the adult volunteers that are so vital to Scouting. If I look back at the last triennium, I can confidently say that we have achieved a great deal. Of course, it has not been without its difficulties and sacrifice along the way, but we have progressed as an organization. And for this, I must thank my World Scout Committee members for their support, trust, leadership, and involvement. Without their strong leadership and backing, we would not have taken some of the more difficult but decisive decisions that we have. Thank you. One key strategic decision we took was the opening of the World Scout Bureau office in Kuala Lumpur to serve as a shared services center. This new office means that with our 6 regional offices and 2 shared service centers, we have an increased capacity to better service to the NSOs by being closer to their needs and realities. On behalf of the World Scout Committee, my thanks to the team involved in the logistics for their determined approach to this task. We are opening up a new frontier of Scouting in the East, and I'm sure it will be a success. I would now like to turn and look at the 4 priority working areas that the World Scout Committee boldly passed at the last conference in Brazil in 2011, and that we have been working on over the past 3 years. I would like to highlight the strategic importance associated with these priority working areas for the Scouts. Firstly, we have our strategic phase. This was a bold decision for the development of a clear and focused strategy for the world bodies. Vision 2023 and the World Triennium Planning System. Thanks to our strategic phase working groups, we have developed proposals for the World Scout Conference in collaboration with the other 3 priority area working groups. We have a renewed strategy for World Scouting that will come before this conference, and we did a new vision statement. By 2023, Scouting will be the world's largest educational youth movement, enabling 100 million young people to be active citizens, creating positive change in their communities based on shared values. What do we think? How do we think about this? Is it achievable? Yes, of course it is. With your help, your enthusiasm, and our Scouting values, we can make this dream a reality. Under the Vision 2023, we have 5 strategic priorities. Let me touch upon them briefly now. 1, youth engagement. Our movement is focused on youth. It is based on youth. It is about youth. So it is no surprise that this is number 1 priority. In consultation with the NSOs, we have developed a position paper entitled Unlocking Our Potential. We will present this here in Slovenia for decision, and I argue you to back it. You symbolize our movement, and it is future of the movement. Without youth, we are nothing. If our intention is to increase our membership to 100 million members by 2023, it must be focused on youth. It was the core and foundation of the Scout movement and the dream of Robert Baden-Powell. Let us get behind it and mobilize the youth of today to grow our movement for the benefit of society at large. 2, educational method. It is important that we have well-structured and well-managed youth programs to drive our message home through education. The work we have achieved over the last triennium has been good, but there is more to do, and I argue you to get behind this in all the regions. Thank you to the working groups involved in these 2 days and to carry on the good work. 3, diversity and inclusion. Unfortunately, our world today is still divided by many issues and many problems. The Scout movement overrides such divisions, while there are issues in many countries all over the world. The work of the Scout to bring together different religions and societies, and to help in times of need is, as never before, needed. Use your contact, your resources, and your skills to help improve diversity and inclusion in your societies. 4, social impact. It is vital that we have a real impact on today's society. Now more do I see this true as with the Messengers of Peace initiative. No other recent Scout programs has driven such change and has such potential. Working toward creating a real understanding and through peace at local level through Messenger of Peace is vital for this. 5, communication and relations underpinned by the governance. It is important that we communicate the values and the true meaning of Scouting. In today's busy world, we are competing with many other youth movements and with the rise of social media. It is important that we communicate both amongst each other and to the wider world. Our values as Scouts, what we stand for and what we can achieve together must be communicated to the wider society and world. For this, we must use our communications network and different channels, which are increasingly being driven for social media. Here we have made great strides. Our new website and our new social media channels are growing and will continue to be hugely important for us. So thank you to these involved in developing out new social media platforms to help us achieve this. You have done good work, but of course, there is always more to do. The second priority working area was Youth for Change. Thanks to consultations with our NSOs, we have updated the World Scout Youth Involvement Policy that will be presented here at this conference for decision. I argue you to support it. Our movement is based around guiding and educating young people, stretching right back to the ideas of founder Robert Baden-Powell. We should not lose sight of this. The third priority working area was 21st century leadership. A draft concept paper on leadership development in Scouting has been prepared based on the efforts of the working group during the last triennium, and the conference resolution will be submitted on leadership development in the youth program. Leadership will continue to be at the fore of everything we do in Scouting to help develop clearly focused, strong strong individuals with the necessary skills to lead and show true leadership. Again, our founder, Robert Baden-Powell, was a great believer in developing leadership and leadership values in youth. At every level of the Scout pyramid, it is about learning to become a leader. Our 21st century leadership program has been key in driving home this message. Thank you to those involved, and please keep up good work. Last but not least, we come to the fourth priority working area, global support. Here again, as in the other three priority working areas, the working group associated with global support has been very busy. They have developed a global support assessment tool that I know some of the NSOs have already experienced. This tool will help NSOs become even better structured and efficient as we strive for our target of 100 million Scouts as part of the Vision 2023. Let me thank all those involved in the priority area working groups for your hard work. Thank you. Of course, in addition to these four areas, many regular scouting events have taken place over the last 3.5 years. I cannot mention them all here, but my highlights would include the first World Scout Educational Congress in Hong Kong in 2013, the 22nd World Scout Jamboree in Sweden in 2011, our annual Jota Joti events, and the 14th World Scout Moot in Canada in 2013. Then, of course, I must add our great new peace initiative, Messengers of Peace. And for this, I extend a special word of thanks to the World Scout Foundation for their tireless efforts in helping with financial support for this MOP initiative. Thank you. Thank you to the World Scout Foundation. Thank you to all the host countries. Let me now end with a few mentions of those that have been working tirelessly over the last 3 years in support of our goals. From the last World Scout Conference in Brazil, thank you to my fellow World Scout committee members. In particular, I must reference our outgoing committee members who are not eligible for the re-election. Wahid Labidi, John May, and John A. Smith. Without your strong support, without your strong support, we would not have achieved what we have over the last triennium. For this, I am eternally grateful. Thank you also to the World Scout Bureau for your strong leadership in difficult times. Thank you also to the regional officers who have listened, implemented, and driven forward the scouting movement and our policies in the various regions. And thank you to all the NSOs who have continued to their support of our movement and implementation of our policy decisions. And last but not least, thank you to all of your fellow Scouts that makes up this movement's success, your hard work, enthusiasm, and continuous drive to create a better world. In sometimes, most challenging times are very much appreciated. Thank you to you all. Sorry, this gentleman make a great effort for the global support. That's why we call his name many times. That's why I just simply forgot. our All Scout Famkist. Thank you for your effort for the last triennium. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Simon. At this time, I'm now going to invite Mr. Peter Illig onto the stage for the Messengers of Peace presentation.
Good afternoon, brother and sister Scouts. My name is Peter Illig. I'm an Eagle Scout from Buffalo, New York, and I serve in the World Scout Bureau office in Geneva, Switzerland. For the past 3 years, I've helped to oversee the implementation of Messengers of Peace, the largest resource in the history of Scouting. To date, we've got nearly 150 funded projects around the world. We've got tens of thousands of volunteer service projects, and we have over 570 million recorded service hours. That's truly an amazing feat. Each day this week, we'd like to show you a video of a Messengers of Peace project, followed by a short presentation from the NSO explaining the project. Today's Messenger of Peace project is from the Inter-America region, and Johnson Cansario of Colombia will be presenting afterwards. So now, the video.
Good afternoon.
My name is Johnson Cansario from Colombia. I'm going to speak in Spanish. Please use your system. La Asociación Scout de Colombia les quiere presentar a
The
ustedes
National Scout
un
Association of
proyecto
Colombia wants to show you a very
para nuestra
successful
asociación.
project for
Pero más que un
our
proyecto
association.
exitoso,
But more than a
es un
successful
momento
project,
y una experiencia
it's been
fabulosa
a fabulous
para la
experience for our association.
Cuando el año pasado, en el año 2013,
Last year, in
Scouts de Colombia
2013,
celebró
the Scouts from Colombia
el centenario de la
celebrated
presencia
100 years
del
of the
escultismo en
presence
nuestro
of
país.
scouting
Y
in
en el
our
marco de
country.
esa celebración,
And
se
within the
lanzó el
framework of this
proyecto 100
celebration, we
casas,
launched the
100
project
sueños, perdón, 100 casas
100
y 100
Dreams and
sueños.
100
La
Houses.
idea de ese proyecto
The idea
contribuyendo
behind
a
this project
al crecer de una comunidad y a
was
ese
to
desarrollo desde la comunidad.
improve and to
Asimismo,
contribute to the growth of the community.
Este proyecto tiene como objetivo construir
The aim of the
100
project is
soluciones
to
prefabricadas
build
de
100
vivienda
prefabricated
para 100
houses
familias
for
y así
100
brindarles
families,
una vivienda confortable,
giving them
decente y digna.
comfortable housing.
Estas familias beneficiadas están,
The families,
después de un estudio, consideradas dentro de las condiciones
after
de
carrying
vulnerabilidad y altas
a
condiciones de
study,
vulnerabilidad,
we
como
choose
seguridad, violencia,
and
pobreza, salud,
we have several
etc.
criteria like poverty,
La línea de
insecurity,
tiempo de
etc.
este proyecto
The
está
calendar for
determinada para
carrying
el año
out this
2014,
project is to carry out
dividiéndolo en
this
dos
project
fases.
in
En un principio,
2014.
el proyecto constructivo para los
First,
primeros meses del año
construction
2014 y
during
para
the
la
first years of the year,
última fase de este
and the
año,
second
el
phase
apoyo social
is the
brindado por los
social
por los
support
mismos profesionales de nuestro
that
socio
the
en este
professionals
proyecto.
of our branch are
Las
giving
acciones
these
que
families.
adelantamos en este proyecto
The
tienen que ver en
actions
primer
that we're
lugar a
going
una
to carry
aproximación que realiza la asociación a las
is
comunidades,
to get closer
realizando
to
así un
the
diagnóstico
communities to
y
be
de ahí
able to
una
draw a
selección de 100
diagnosis
familias
and to select the 100
que
beneficiary
estamos
families
apoyando y que trabajan
to
con
which
nosotros
we're
durante todo
going
el
to
proceso.
give support and that will be working
De la
with
misma
us
manera, un proceso
during the whole
educativo y
project.
complementario enfocado en
We
el
have
método Scout.
also an
Hablar
educational
enfocado en el método
project
Scout nos invita a hablar de ley y promesa.
based on
Ese sentir
this,
Scout
on
de cómo
scouting.
hacemos las cosas los Scouts.
We teach them how we
Con el
work,
corazón que hacemos este
Scouts,
tipo de
because
cosas
we
y por
work
eso
with our
la
hearts.
promesa y la ley están allí.
and that's why we have
La
our promise
estrategia
and our
está
law.
basada
And the strategy
principalmente
is
en
mainly
6
based
fases. La primera de
in
ellas es una
several phases.
asistencia
The
a las
first one
necesidades
is
detectadas.
to
Un
satisfy the
trabajo
needs that have
entrenando a los
been
equipos
detected. We
de
train the
jóvenes,
teams
rovers,
of young,
ventures,
dirigentes,
dirigentes que están acompañando ese proceso
rovers,
junto con
who
profesionales en el área
carry
social
out the
de nuestro
work
socio
with
en
our
este proyecto.
professionals in the project.
La gestión y estructuración financiera
We also give
pues también hace
financial
parte de este
support.
proceso. Luego, la
And
construcción
then
ya puesta en el
the
sitio de la
construction
casa, de la vivienda, de la
of the
mano con
houses
la
in
familia,
itself,
porque ellos también
in
trabajan con
collaboration
nosotros
with
en
the
el proyecto.
families because they
Y
carry
un
out the
apoyo
project with
social
us.
que
We also
se da
give them
durante todo el
social
proceso.
support all along the project.
Para asegurar que todos... No avanza.
The speaker interrupts himself.
Para asegurar que todos los esfuerzos se
all
lleguen a
the
cabo
efforts are
enfocados siempre en los objetivos de los que hemos
always
charlado, realizamos una
based
alianza
on the objectives. We have a strategic
con nuestro socio a largo plazo,
with our
la Fundación
associates,
Catalina Muñoz,
and the associate is
quien
the
tiene una gran
Foundation
experiencia en
Catalina
esta clase de
Muñoz,
proyectos
which has
sociales y de construcción de casas.
great experience in the
También,
construction
como
of
actor principal
houses.
dentro del proyecto,
As a
se
main
encuentran las
actor, also we
comunidades,
have
las
the
comunidades
communities,
locales.
the
Como les
local
decía hace un rato,
communities, as I told
ellos
you
construyen con
recently.
nosotros y
They
trabajan con
build with
nosotros
us
desde
and they
el
work with
inicio
us
del proceso.
from the beginning of the
A la hora
process.
de hablar de financiamiento,
When we talk
el
about
proyecto
finances,
para
this
realizar, para construir una
project,
casa como las que vimos en
so
el
as
video,
to be able
construir
to
100 de ellas,
build
necesitamos
100 houses like those you've seen
$375,000.
on the video, you need $375,000.
$375,000. Por eso el tema de financiamiento es
That is why
muy
the
importante.
financing is very important.
Para lograr ello, les
To
quiero
be able
presentar
to
algunas
get
posibilidades
this
de
money, I would like to
consecución de
mention
recursos financieros.
some possibilities to obtain
En un
those
primer lugar, el
financial
financiamiento
resources.
directamente a través de
First,
instituciones
direct
y donantes
financing
privados.
through
En segundo
institutions and
lugar, un
private
trabajo
donors.
en las plataformas online
Secondly,
de consecución de
on
recursos.
online
Un ejemplo de
platforms,
ellas es Nobleza Obliga,
we
con
can
quien
obtain
hemos venido
resources
adelantando el
through
proceso y ha tenido
Nobleza
éxito.
Obliga. This
Y,
has helped us.
Obviamente, el Fondo de
And also
Mensajeros de la
with
Paz. Este
the
proyecto
fund of the
no ha
peace
recibido fondos de
messengers.
Mensajeros de la Paz.
This project
Pero
has not
al
received funds
encontrarnos
from
en el
peace
80%
messengers,
aproximadamente del desarrollo
but
constructivo,
since we already have
la
built
asociación está
80%
adelantando
of the houses,
trabajos
the
para elaborar el
association
proyecto y avanzar en ese
is
sentido, junto con el Fondo de Mensajeros de la Paz.
helping construct these
Todo
houses
ello
with the
habla
peace
de
messengers.
recursos financieros, pero
This
el recurso
means
más
that
importante
we
es el
have
recurso
the
humano.
need
Ese
of
recurso humano que ha cambiado las
financial
vidas
resources,
de
but
jóvenes,
the human
dirigentes,
resource
padres
is
de
the most
familia y
important
voluntarios.
for
La invitación hoy
leaders
aquí,
and for
ya que hablamos
volunteers.
de proyectos
We talked
trascendentes,
here
la
about
invitación
very
hoy aquí es
important
para todos y
projects, and
cada
the
uno de ustedes y
invitation
sus
is
asociaciones.
for each and every
Los
one
invito
of you
a que me
and your
acompañen,
associations.
a que acompañen a
I
la
would like
Asociación
you
Scout de
to
Colombia.
be with us,
Los
with
invito a
the
cada uno de ustedes a que
Association
vayan conmigo a
of Colombia. I
y
invite
construyan
you to
una
come to
casa.
Colombia
Les
and build
prometo
one home.
que eso
I
cambiará
promise
sus
you
vidas.
that this will
Las
change your
cambiará
life.
para siempre.
It will change your
Igual
life
como
forever.
ha cambiado las
It has
vidas de
changed
todos
the
los que han
life
trabajado en
of
ella
all of those
y
who
todos
have
los
worked
beneficiarios.
there and
Los espero
all
en
of
Colombia.
those who have
Come
been
with me
benefiting from
to
that.
Colombia.
Come with me
Thank
to
you.
Colombia. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much indeed, Johnson and Peter. Some of you will be worried now about the possibility of caffeine. I have taken a little note with John Lawler, and of course this session is running a little longer for reasons that you will understand than perhaps we had originally planned. Don't worry, you will still get a coffee break. And dinner may be a little later. Just before we move to the next speaker, I wonder if you would all just very briefly like to stand, give yourself a little shake, and then sit down again. Okay, that's enough shaking. Sit yourselves down. So, we now come to our next speaker for this afternoon. And I've been trying to work out what on earth I would say about our Secretary General. There's so much that I could tell you, and all of it is bad. One of the things I've noticed about Scott Tier, seriously, is that everything he does, he tries to focus on the young person that we are working to serve. Perhaps it comes from his involvement in scouting at a very, very young age. When he was a Cub Scout, I can't believe that he was ever a Cub Scout, but he was. His parents asked him what he'd like to do for a living. And little Scotty, bless him, said, I am going to work for the Scout organization. And his father said, well, that's very nice, but what are you going to do for a living? Well, fast forward a few years, and today, in Scott's office, you can see an oil painting given by his good friends hanging on the wall in the front of his desk. The painting is a Norman Rockwell painting, and it's that of a scoutmaster and his scouts camping together to remind our Secretary General that every day, the scout, the young person, is at the center of everything that he does. So I am delighted to be able to introduce to you today my very, very good friend and colleague, our Secretary General, brothers, sisters, and scouts, Scott Tier.
Unity in Diversity. It's the title of my address today. Dear brothers and sister Scouts, let me add another welcome to the 40th World Scout Conference here in Slovenia. And let me tell you what an honor it is to stand in front of a World Scout Conference for the first time as your Secretary General of the World Organization of the Scout Movement. Let me begin by expressing also my gratitude to the numerous volunteers that have worked tirelessly to help pull together with our World Scout Committee and our World Scout Bureau staff, both the 12th World Scout Youth Forum and the 40th World Scout Conference. And as you've heard, the Youth Forum was a huge success and should give us the right spirit and motivation for the important mutual work we have to do during this conference in the days ahead. And I thank them again for their hard work. You know, after my arrival at the airport, I did what many of you did. I exchanged some currencies and bought some murals. And admittedly, in preparing for the trip coming here, I looked up and checked when Slovenia became a member of the Eurozone. The answer is 2007. I also noted that 2014 marks the 10th anniversary of Slovenia's membership into the European Union. Who would have anticipated these swift and successful developments in 1991 when Slovenia gained its independence? For me, this is a clear message that you can achieve incredible things when you are united in a vision and you take concrete and sustainable actions to achieve that vision. Remembering the early 1990s and looking at the broader region at that time should remind us that that international crises have and are, so sad as it is, a reality of mankind. We cannot take peace and a peaceful life for granted. What we as Scouts can do is live up to our values of respect, integrity, trust, and excellence, and by that contribute to creating a better world. The fact that we are hosted today by a national Scout organization from a country that has established itself as a valued member of the European Union so quickly after independence should give us hope and confidence that current crises can be ultimately solved, and those who are currently affected by violence, war, unrest, discrimination, or natural disasters around the world can go back to a peaceful life. I made another calculation on this 40th anniversary, or 40th World Scout Conference. If World Scouting today were a country, it would be the 6th largest country in the European Union and the 33rd largest country in the world, right somewhere between Argentina and Algeria. If we were to be successful, reaching the 100 million Scouts by 2023, as our draft new vision suggests, World Scouting would become the 12th largest country in the world between Mexico and the Philippines, and number 1 in the European region. This is not just a numbers game. It simply shows the extraordinary reach of our movement and its potential. Well, before sharing some insights to the Triennium, I'd like to sincerely thank my predecessor, Luke Paniso, for all his hard work and dedication to serving World Scouting. for his work and dedication in serving World Scouting for many years, including as our Secretary General. Luke worked tirelessly to establish a strong World Scout Bureau, despite all of the challenges in World Scouting when he took over as Secretary General. The first part of this triennium belongs to Luke, and I ask you to join me in welcoming my friend Luke Panisol to the stage so he can briefly report on his portion of the past triennium. Luke.
Greetings to all. What a strange feeling. Thank you to the World Scout Committee, and thank you to you, Scott, particularly, because it was your idea for giving me the opportunity and the pleasure to briefly address this World Scout Conference. It seems that my history of standing in front of World Conference is made of first and last times. First time and last time as Secretary General ad interim in Korea in 2008. First time as Secretary General in full in 2011 in Brazil. And first time and last time as Secretary General retired. Some said this afternoon recycled. Today in 2014 in Slovenia. If ever you see something looking like Luke in 2017, it may just be that of a ghost, the first time you would see the ghost of a Secretary General retired. But I will be brief. I will be brief because what I will tell you in a nutshell was detailed in the various updates from the chairman and the World Scout Committee chairman and the Secretary General, which were circulated to all NSOs after each World Scout Committee meeting. Also because it is much more interesting to hear about the exciting outcome which will be presented during this week than past history. Because also, if I may have initiated a few things, it is my successor, Scott, who brought them to fruition with the World Scout Committee and the World Scout Bureau, and he is the one who deserves credit and recognition for that. And finally, because he, Scott, has many more fresh and interesting things to say than I do. Yes, it is hard for me to remember that I was in professional command of World Scouting for nearly half of this triennium, which start was much different than any start I and we experienced in the past. Indeed, what I wanted to offer the World Scout Committee right from the beginning was a different way to approach the tasks that had to be carried out, was to prioritize these tasks, and was to design ad hoc structure at world level to tackle the tasks. The World Committee agreed to this new approach, keeping the institutional structure that we're needing, and accepting changes to meet the need of the movement, particularly in the area of knowledge dissemination, strategic coordination, and structural and institutional support. I also wanted to situate our work and reflection within a longer time frame than simply looking just 3 years ahead to the next World Scout Conference. Together with John May, we brought in a futurist to a meeting of the World Scout Committee for, I can tell you, very lively discussions. And this was, for me, a memorable session, which I believed helped us to open ourselves to a longer perspective. Within this new framework, the World Committee identified 4 priority working areas as just presented by Chairman Simon. Our strategic path, use for change, 21st century leadership, global support, and decided that this would be handled by small, flexible, and efficient structure, the priority area working groups. The committee also agreed that important but more routine matters be handled by the usual committee structure, and items that had a shorter working life duration be handled by ad hoc structures. For the first time also in the history of the World Scout Committee and the World Scout Bureau that I have been associated with, we came out relatively quickly with a triennial plan. Under the motto Leadership, Innovation, Service, this plan articulated clear objectives for each priority area and, more important, commitments for deliverables. It also made sure that global coherence with the educational method work was assured, particularly in relation to the Brazil Conference resolution. The plan was finally shared with NSOs early 2012, and from the feedback I got and we got, I can say that it was very well received. The result of the World Scout Committee work in the priority area can be found in the triennial report. I hope you will take the time to read this report and appreciate the tremendous success that is enjoyed. Have we succeeded? Have they succeeded? It is up to you to judge from what will be presented throughout this conference. In the early days of this new triennium, we also began to rethink the World Scout Bureau, how the World Scout Bureau was organized. Within the framework of what was referred to as global issues, we looked at the question of the location of the World Scout Bureau. The World Scout Committee approved the addition of a chief operating officer to assist with this process, and we began to formally develop the organization and location review process under the leadership of the then Chief Operating Officer, Aidan Jones. I'd like to take just a moment to recognize Aidan on behalf of Scott and myself for the enormous amount of dedication he gave to this project, which paved the way for Scott for higher decision. Aidan is now in Abu Dhabi as Executive Director of World Skills Abu Dhabi 2007, and we are deeply grateful to him. A major event in the life of World Scouting, the 22nd World Scout Jamboree, took place in Sweden in 2011. It was special in many ways and set new milestones and benchmarks for World Scouting. Together with the Swedish Guide and Scout Council, we showcased to the world how we are committed to the safety and protection of children throughout Safe from Harm initiatives. It also set new standards of using technology in our movement. At this event, World Scouting launched a new global e-learning resource for NSOs to help with policy making, building procedures, and improving practice in this key area to ensure a safe passage for all young scouts. And it was an exemplary cooperation between the host organization, the Swedish and Guidance Scout Council, and the World Committee and the World Bureau. Thank you again to our Swedish friends. And the plans for the 14th World Scout Moot in Canada were finalized in the early months of the triennium. What a great event this was as well. Merci à nos amis canadiens. Not only did WUSOM host the World Scout Jamboree in 2011, but we knew where the 2015 and the 2019 World Jamboree would be hosted. Planning this far in advance was a new, welcome concept as well. Also, this was a little bit painful. SCORE, the World Scout Bureau Scout Shop, was successfully closed down, and the new World Scout Shop Limited was started under the leadership and the umbrella of the Scout Association. A good model of cooperation, financially much more profitable, was developed, and this has undoubtedly resulted in better service to our NSOs. Our friends from the World Scout Shop are here with us, and I encourage you to visit them. Much of my gratitude goes to the World Scout Foundation, who brought up very substantial, in fact, the largest ever received support, funding to support and assist the World Scout Bureau with the new Messenger of Peace initiative. A very welcome, incredible opportunity to enhance scouting at all levels. This was a massive undertaking that had to be organized in a very short period of time, from grant requests to grant reviews to decision and execution of plans. And for the first time since many years, we were lucky to find a sponsor who understood the critical question of capacity building in our National Scout organization and accepted to financially support this development sector in NSOs. Messenger of Peace started our past triennium with a spirit of community service and a powerful message of peace. All of this helped our message of creating a better world. So many things were started some 3 years ago, also including a number of invisible things, such as the preparation for this World Scout Conference, the adoption of a risk management policy at all levels of the Bureau, streamlining relationship with other organizations, with or without consultative status with the World Committee, and it is so gratifying for me to see them mature to fruition. I had a personal liking for the priority area global support, OSCAR, which I started to push despite some skeptical smile even before the Brazil conference. Today, I am so thrilled to see how it matured and how it can be so useful to NSOs to benchmark against standards, to improve their governance and reinforce their credibility as a reliable partner. I also spent considerable time on the road, I should rather say in the air, visiting NSOs and supporting them in their relationship with government, churches, UN agencies, and others, promoting Scouting as a reliable partner. This would not have been possible without the support of the entire World Scout Committee, of my ex-colleague of the World Scout Bureau staff, and of you leaders in your National Scout organization. May I here express my profound gratitude to all of you for this wonderful experience you helped me to go through, not only during this past triennium, but also during the 30 years I served Scouting as a professional. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Several of the achievements shared in the 2011-2014 Triennial Report are the direct result of Luke's leadership, and I join Luke in asking to take time to read that. It can be found in your little thingamajobber that you got with your registration material. We'll have time later in the conference to properly recognize Luke for his service to World Scouting, and I've said many times that Luke is a longtime personal friend and that the handoff of his administration to our current administration was flawless. Luke Panisel was an outstanding human being, and I am proud to be his friend and to have shared this time with him on stage this afternoon. Ours is a volunteer-based movement, and you, our volunteers, are the lifeblood of this movement. Your dedication is incredible, but we need more people like you to ensure that we grow this vibrant movement from 40 million members today to over 100 million members in just 10 years' time. So what can each of you do to bring a ripple effect in bringing 10 million new volunteers to help form the foundation for a future 100 million strong membership? First, you can reach out through all the media that you can initiate, to invite your friends and relatives to join us in serving the Scout movement. Albert Einstein said, logic will get you from A to B, but imagination will get you everywhere. The time has come to use imagination to change our all too comfortable status quo and focus on new ideas to reach more young people. It is from my personal experiences that if you try to do something big, that it becomes very difficult to completely fail. I would like to express my gratitude to the top most volunteer decision makers of WSM, the current World Scout Committee members who've done a magnificent job over the past 3 years and devoted so much of their valuable time and energy to the movement. I've said many times, publicly and privately, that you should expect, if not demand, decisive leadership from your World Scout Committee. I personally have witnessed our committee discuss serious and difficult issues with a passion to serve to the best of their ability. They accepted a serious obligation to act between World Scout conferences. In the context of addressing change, they had followed a democratic process that included obtaining feedback from NSOs that drive the decisions they make. Would all the members of the World Scout Committee, including our youth advisors and non-voting members, which includes our regional chairman, please stand and be recognized, and they are located here in the front rows of the stands, please. One more time. Thank you very much. If following our presentations this afternoon or at any time during the conference you have a question, please ask any member of the World Scout Committee. They'll be happy to assist you in any way possible. They're here to help provide answers, and more importantly, they're here to listen. Now I'd like to ask Simon, Wahid, and John May to please stand. John May and Simon, Wahid. Ladies and gentlemen, standing before you is the leadership of the leadership. This small group has inspired and supported change in a number of areas, including how we reorganize the World Scout Bureau staff. They have helped the staff to restructure to better overlay and support our regional offices. Under the leadership of these three dedicated Scouters, the current World Scout Committee may well have been the most involved and change-oriented World Scout Committee ever elected. To each of them, I remain grateful for their support. Thank you. And to the World Scout Bureau staff, and I do mean all 120 members of the staff located in World Scout Bureau offices around the world, you're simply the greatest. Your support to me as the Secretary General is greatly appreciated. I am proud of who you are and what you do for this movement. Thank you, thank you, thank you. A famous contemporary futurist named Joel Barker once said, "Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action can change the world." Part of your mandate of the 40th World Scout Conference will be to adopt a new vision for World Scouting, Vision 2023. But before getting deeper into this agenda, let me highlight a few defining moments which mark the past triennium and demonstrate that our movement is indeed focused a lot of energy on action. As you know, Youth for Change was chosen as one of the 4 key priority areas for the 2011-2014 triennium. The purpose was to bring together the various strands of youth engagement within WSM, as well as to highlight the impact that young people have in their communities. Young people are a tremendous source of energy, creativity, and values that can shape a better future both inside Scouting and the local communities in which they live. Scouting is a movement of young people supported by adults. From WSM's total membership of 40 million, more than 82% are young people. They are in their formative years, acquiring knowledge, skills, and attitude that make them more open to perform positively in society, not just in the future, but also today. Even though they are still in the learning process, this does not stop them from making active contributions both within and outside the movement. As we jointly define the next triennium, I urge that we continue to remember that the education of young people is at the center of everything we do. I would also like to highlight the first World Scout Education Congress, which was organized in Hong Kong in November 2013, and it brought together almost 500 on-site and 1,450 online participants, mainly active in the areas of youth program and adults in Scouting. The Congress offered educational methods experts from across World Scouting a platform to share experiences, access the relevance of the movement in today's society, and point towards a common direction for the future development of Scouting, ultimately repositioning education of young people as the core business of Scouting. As Luke mentioned, the past triennium also saw the development of a flagship initiative of World Scouting, Messengers of Peace. The aim of the Messengers of Peace initiative is to inspire millions of young Scouts throughout the world to undertake peace and service actions in their communities and thus contribute to creating a better world. This is something that has never been so important than it is in these very days. What does creating a better world mean? It means that Scouts in Lebanon worked hard to improve the well-being and integration of thousands of Syrian refugees in Lebanon. Working closely with the national authorities and local communities, Lebanese scouts have focused on the needs of families fleeing war in neighboring Syria, providing winter supplies, warm clothing, and helping children in particular to feel at home in their new communities. Creating a better world also means that when the typhoon struck on 9 November 2013, devastating many communities across central Philippines, scouts from all over the country reacted within hours of the disaster to provide support to multiple relief organizations. To provide support to relief organizations, not to become a relief organization. They were joined by countless scouts from around the world and NSOs who donated financial support to help with relief operations. I would like to thank the World Scout Foundation leadership for their support in helping make the Messages of Peace program such a success. There is a chapter in the Holy Quran that tells of Prophet Muhammad calling tribal leaders together. He explained to them that Allah did not make them different to fight about their differences. Rather, he made them different so they would discuss these differences and become stronger. The story speaks of diversity and unity. I believe the Message of Peace initiative emphasizes both diversity and unity of our World Scout family, and that's what I call unity and diversity. This unity and diversity is well represented here in this room. Hundreds of delegates representing 162 National Scout organizations are all here from different cultures, but here with a common purpose and a common set of values. In order to grow quality scouting across the globe, we must support and strengthen the capacity of these 162 National Scout organizations. This led us to create the Global Support Assessment Tool, and to support the rollout of this tool across the globe, a worldwide pool of talented, trained volunteers and staff was created to help NSOs set priorities, get adequate support in place, and then monitor the results. This service mentality also stems from the sense of diversity of our staff at the World Scout Bureau, which is a key strength to ensure that we best support our 162 National Scout organizations with respect, integrity, trust, and excellence in service. These are the values based on our Scout Promise and Law that I would like each and every one of us as staff members and volunteers to live by each and every day. Finally, unity and diversity has also been the credo of our communications and external relations efforts in the past triennium. Both have made a big leap forward in this triennium, and let me highlight a few examples here. Over 100 youth members from various NSOs have been selected to represent World Scouting externally in events run by reputed global institutional partners. World Scouting has built several new partnerships, particularly within the United Nations system and other civil society organizations. The United Nations Millennium Campaign has commended World Scouting's efforts at a special recognition ceremony at the UN General Assembly in New York in September 2013. In the next triennium, World Scouting must continue to work closely with other youth organizations, civil society, knowledge institutions, corporate partners, donors, and the United Nations in contributing to creating a better world. Over the past 3 years, World Scouting has also embraced 21st century communications. Our social media footprint has grown, allowing us to remain relevant with young people. This, I believe, there is little doubt that we live in a world that is changing more quickly and more profoundly than we could ever have imagined when Scouting was founded. With the ongoing and lightning-fast technological advances in electronics, especially computerized games, it is clear that today's generation has moved from instigators of play to consumers of play. When this phenomenon is coupled with social media access and its instant global reach, it is having an unimaginable, perhaps sometimes confusing, influence within families and consequently on behavior. In this sense, Scouting has an important role to play in personal development through the leadership experiences it offers, such as problem solving through teamwork. Scouts are also connected to their natural environment because Scouting is value-driven and based on a Scout promise. It reinforces the notions of duty, honor, commitment, and community service by doing a good turn daily. Scouting today is the best leadership development program on earth. On October 15, World Scouting launched a totally renewed website, which includes, in addition to many state-of-the-art features, a platform for all Scouts to share best practices, celebrate successes, exchange Scout stories, and more. This is also the place where we can now share information with NSOs in a modern way and where the external world can see our institutional and individual achievements. This is what I call a permanent World Scout Jamboree. Moving forward, let me quote the Dalai Lama, who said, in order to carry a positive action, we must develop a positive vision. This is exactly what we are here for this week, providing better scouting for more young people. Following intense consultation, which started in November 2013, our movement concluded that the mission of scouting continued to be relevant, while our vision needed to be revisited. Thanks to your contributions, we have a well-defined and an ambitious new Vision 2023 and a clear strategy for scouting. The Vision 2023 and the strategy for scouting are the results of a comprehensive and thorough process that included active contributions from all regions and all levels of our movement. I'm proud of the outcome, and I'm convinced you will share my enthusiasm. Dear friends, reading a letter from President-elect Walesa this morning, my belief in looking ahead and forward is strengthened further. We can always spend lots of time analyzing the past, but nothing creates momentum like moving forward with positive energy. Today I stand here with a call to each and every one of you, asking for that solidarity, that unity and diversity, the very same one that Baden-Powell, our founder, said should be respected and practiced every day is brotherhood, sisterhood, and kinship by all Scouts. In the next triennium, my priority as Secretary General is straightforward. How can we better utilize our volunteer and professional resources across the world to increase our global impact on young people and our service to NSOs? With such focus, we will grow tomorrow's leaders by providing young girls and boys with an education for life set on a strong set of values. To achieve this goal, we need to be united in our diversity. This 40th World Scout Conference represents a unique opportunity for our movement to be better in what really matters, and that's to give every young person we possibly can the opportunity to join a local Scout group. It is in a local Scout group that values are shared. It is in a local Scout group that leadership skills are learned. It is in a local Scout group that our national Scout organizations can help change lives and sometimes even save lives. Every plan, every strategy, every action of ours should be done with the Scout in the middle of everything. I believe in this, and every day of my working life I think of the Scout who is at the center of everything that we do, and I remind my team members to do the same as they work to serve the world organization of the Scout movement. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Scott Tier. I am a Scout, I am a messenger of peace, and I am proud to serve as your Secretary General.
Ladies and gentlemen, our two Secretaries General. So finally, before we break for coffee, hooray, an announcement for all candidates for election as members of the World Scout Committee. Could all candidates please remain in the plenary hall for a few minutes after we break for coffee for a brief sound check and to receive some practical information regarding your candidature presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, session closed. 25 minutes, please, back here.
have written. Well, it's not what we are going to replace laptop. The laptop is not an issue, but it will be the same thing. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a pre-programmed PowerPoint that will hopefully not pick up my voice. So basically, this is exactly as it is in the form. When you come up, you'll see this first, and then if you'd like, I can hit the button for you. Is that better for you? Yeah. Okay. So how we'll do it is this. Lydia, you come up here. Okay. So I'll come up. Okay. We get the microphone the right height. You won't have to fiddle with it at all. Okay. I'll do the fiddling. Okay. I will look at you when I've done the fiddling and say, are you happy with that? And you'll say yes. Are you ready? You'll say yes. And I'll do this. Okay. Okay. You don't touch anything else here. Okay. It'll say go, which means you have 3 minutes. I'm going to skip ahead here. Once you don't touch anything, from we have this is the 30-second thing. Yeah. I can't go. With 30 seconds to go, you'll see that. This is scary. With 10 seconds to go, it'll go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then it'll say finish. Separately, in case anything goes wrong, separately to that, Jose will keep the time and advise the chairman to put you off. No,
And water.
Would you like some water? We'll arrange for some water. Okay. Feel free to have a plate, and don't say anything too political. Okay.
Have you explained the process before they get?
Yeah, we're gonna line them up both aside, and okay. But yeah, the script. We're not gonna read the names out first beforehand. It's name. There's the chairman of the session. No change on the script. That's all he cares about. 6 minutos. Think like the uniform. It's not like that one. It's a much nicer one. It's a less evil one. Everybody okay? Yes. Okay, so what do we need to remember? Water and charge the laptop, turn off the Skype on the laptop. And yeah, I'll be here. Recommend that everybody switches off the phones. We'll put the microphone and he'll coordinate with you to make sure that you know it's 3 minutes. Victor will cut the microphone. Yeah. Okay, you tell Victor to cut the microphone. Yeah. And he'll give you the nod to say, thank you, Mark. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. No, it's kidding. No, it's kidding. Then I say thank you. Thank you. Yes. Maybe next time we'll try again.
Okay. Very wise. Very wise. Yes, you have it as well.
Do that?
Just please tell people that if they touch any key, what will happen is that the PowerPoint will trigger.
Don't accidentally hit the key. If you do, ignore what's on the screen and don't worry. He's still touching this. Okay. I practice this in the uniform.
Testing.
always run Emily out in 3 years.
That's very fair.
She twice during youth she came as a black teacher. When did we find out? Good luck.
We're all on a journey. The World Scout Conference, our diverse paths converge. We become one. One in the belief in our collective power as a movement to be the change that we want to see. Whatever the path, what unites us is a clear for positive futures. Young people whose lives are increasingly intertwined are exposed to serious issues. They see many things that can hide. The absence of peace, fear, intolerance, and hatred. Poverty, which affects education, values family, which leads people to think about themselves and their families. Many feel powerless, but we know instinctively what we can and should. We're not prepared to they must be Scout Conference, our diverse paths converge. We become one. One in the belief in our collective power as a movement to be the change we want to see. Whatever our past, what unites us is our shared hope for positive future. Every day, everywhere, young people whose lives are increasingly intertwined